Hi, my name is Jess. I'm from New Zealand. I am making this video because I have cubital tunnel syndrome. It's also known as ulnar nerve entrapment. And I wanted to really add to the discussions that are going on online around this nerve issue and put my own voice out there and contribute to the conversation. And maybe someone out there has just started to have these issues and wants to hear another perspective on it. And I obviously have not resolved these issues, they're ongoing, so maybe someone out there who's already been through this will comment on my video with something that worked for them. So for anyone who doesn't already know what the ulnar nerve is, it's this really poorly placed nerve in the body that runs from the back of your neck down through the outside of your arm, down through this part of the elbow. So it's also known as the funny bone. So when you smack your elbow and you get that fuzzy sensation, that's actually the ulnar nerve. And it runs all the way down along the side of your arm into your pinky and your ring finger a little bit. So it's different to carpal tunnel syndrome. Carpal tunnel syndrome is related to this side of your hand, your thumb on the inside, but cubital tunnel is the ulnar nerve and the outside of your hand. And the biggest issue with this nerve is that it's on quite a exposed part of the body, and there's many ways that it can be strained. So think of it as this long piece of string, and it's kind of a little bit loose to a point, but if you start to bend parts of your body, you start to pull the string taut. So when you, for example, hunch your neck forward, if you were typing like this, or just slouching in general, that'll pull the nerve. If you are bending your elbow here excessively, or if you're sleeping like I do, like this, that will also pull the nerve. If you're doing that at the wrist a lot, too much of this, that'll also pull the nerve. All of these different ways that you can strain it kind of contribute to the overall issue. And of course, it's a really big issue because you use your hands every day, so it's not like you can just not bend your arms. So yeah, as I said, it's in this terrible position in the body because not a lot of people might have padding, some good muscle or fat sitting around this area to protect it. And there's so many ways in which you can kind of lean on it, compress it, bump it. And the other issue is that when you bend, this nerve kind of flosses over the bone. And so it's kind of constantly getting grated and pushed and pulled. I mean, it's different for everyone in terms of where theirs might sit. Some people don't have it where it flosses over the bone. Other people do. Your situation might be unique. But from what I generally understand of it, it is a very poorly placed nerve. So that is the ulnar nerve. I didn't even know what it was until August 2012, so a few years ago now. I went to see my GP because I was in my final semester of my university degree, my first university degree, and I was holding my pen, so I was like this, writing, doing exam preparation, and then also on the computer at university, they didn't have very good ergonomic setup for the students, so they weren't properly desks with adjustable heights. There weren't chairs with proper back support. So I was kind of like this, or like this, or just any kind of position you find as a student to work. So in many ways, I was repetitively straining that nerve. And then add into that the fact that I was sleeping like this. So I think that's what initially set it off. My GP recommended doing some strapping of the fingers. So she said just get some strapping tapes and plasters, start strapping my fingers together. Because what I was feeling was a weakness in the pinky and tingling on the top of it. That's how it started initially. And so I was holding my hands like this a lot, putting them in my pockets, kind of just even pushing them into the side of my body just to avoid kind of them floating around by themselves. So the strapping really helped, just keeping them together locked down. That was nice. She also put me onto a course of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDS, that didn't do anything for me, and I didn't particularly want to be on any long-term medication for this. So once I'd done a month's course and found that there were no results one way or the other, I decided to come off them, and I went back to see her in my GP in September 2012. She sent me to a hand physiotherapist group. And I won't mention who they are, they're in Auckland, but I really did not have a good experience with them because I went to them and my nerves were very strained. So I had this repetitive strain injury, and they were trying to get me to do a lot of exercises, a lot of nerve flossing and gliding. You can see a lot of those types of exercises on YouTube, which could work for some people, could not work for others. For me personally, it just made mine worse. I started getting pulling all the way along here, all the way down into my elbow from my pinky. And it just got to the point where I couldn't do the exercises anymore. The nerve was feeling more strained. And I was angry. I was really angry because I was like, they should surely understand that, maybe this wasn't the best course of action, and I just didn't want to go there anymore. So that was that. Then I finished my degree. Woo! And I took a break. So obviously I had some holidays. I wasn't really typing and writing much. I was out. It was summertime. So it was great. And things died down. And I thought, okay, cool. It was maybe sort of this once off. But then I started my job working in management consulting. And that's when things started to flare up again. So check my timeline here. What did I do? So March 2013, I went back to see my GP, who referred me to a doctor who did a nerve conduction test on my arms. And because I had started to feel it just in the left hand, because I'm left-handed, that's my writing hand, but the more I was leaving my left hand and starting to type more and use my mouse more, the more I started to find it flaring up in the right hand. So couldn't win. The nerve conduction study test was interesting. They have tiny little needles. I'm not a big fan of needles. And they kind of put them into different parts of your arm, and they jolt the nerve, and they test its response time. So the nerve sends a little message down, do, and they measure how quick that happens. And if it's not responding at a rate that they deem to be within a normal range, then there's possibly some nerve damage. But I had none of that, so that was great. Good start. No nerve damage. Unfortunately, that just meant that I really didn't know what else to do at that point. So, yeah, I basically did nothing. I just kept strapping my hands. There was no nerve damage. I didn't really know what else to do. And so I kind of went about that year. I had it on and off. Sometimes I strapped my hands, sometimes it was fine, sometimes I gave myself a break, and for the most part it was sort of this this mild annoyance, little pulling, just that I could kind of ignore. But in 2014 it started to get a little bit to the point where I needed to do something else about it. I needed to go back and see someone. I'd been kind of putting off doing anything since the nerve test showed that there was no nerve damage. I sort of thought that at some point it would correct itself. So then in March 2014, I went to see an orthopaedic surgeon for a consultation, and he, just played around with my hands as people who do consultations do, and then essentially said, okay, go see another hand therapist, to which I, was like, oh my God, I can't go back and see these other people. They strained my nerve even more, and I don't really want to go back to them. So he sent me to this really amazing woman who I will tell you her name. Her name is Adele Kelly. She works in Auckland. And she was great. She didn't make me do any kind of exercises. She gave me some in case she thought that, if they sort of calmed down a little bit and then I could try and do some, but she didn't force me into doing any. She also gave me some finger buddies. Right. So finger buddies are these little Velcro straps. I'm sorry, these look awful because they are so old. I have new ones I'll show you soon. These are the 1/2-inch ones. And essentially what you do is, if it's got a little loop here, you put it onto your fingers. And you can use these for heaps of other reasons as well, but, specifically for my pinky feeling weak, this was fantastic. Then you just wrap it around. You can either choose to wrap it around the the middle finger, or just around the two that are affected, and then the little strapping part just straps down, and that's it. You wear that for as long as you need. I would wear these for pretty much days and days on end. Sometimes I hadn't even, you take them off at some point, like to shower and whatnot, and, use the bathroom, but then you just put them straight back on, and they're so easy to use. The only problem is you lose them very easily. I think I had about 10 of these at one point. Now I'm down to 2, hence why I ordered some more. So they do get a little bit ratty and kind of discolored and kind of gross, but you can't really see that too badly from the outside. The other thing is sometimes the little the end that goes onto the Velcro starts to get a little bit bent and kind of stops sticking as well. Yeah, it's not like a lifetime guaranteed thing or anything. So yeah, so there's the finger buddies, and I was wearing these every day. On top of that, I was also using wrist guards. So sometimes I was sleeping with these just to avoid bending my hands like this in the night. And I mean, these are sort of your stock standard ones. I don't even bother to like undo the strappy parts anymore, but it doesn't really give you much protection or anything. Like, it doesn't go all the way up to the elbow. All it does is stops your wrist from bending, which that's great. And I wear these now sometimes too, just on days where I'm having like a lot of pulling. I'll just put this on, just give myself a little bit of kind of straightening out to avoid bending too much. And pulling that nerve a little bit too much. So yeah, so I have one for each arm. And of course they're different colors, which is not ideal. So yeah, I prefer this one. It seems to fit against my hand a little bit better. This is Thurston Hospital. I don't know if you can see that. And this one, let's see if I can find this here, is a Bledsoe, which I think might be a Kiwi brand because I got it from Rebel Sports. This one actually I got from the initial hand specialist who I went to that made me do all the exercises. Yeah, so sorry, I got this one with Adele, and this one was the first one I got. Then what Adele did was she made me these braces. So I had to stop bending my arms at night. That was really, I was waking up in the morning just fully, pulling sensation. So she made me these braces. This was the first one she did. This is kind of this almost like plasticky style material, and it's in like a flat sheet, and what she did is she heated it up. She molds, which arm is it? Oh, this was the first one that I got done. She molds it to your arm while you're lying down in the position that you want it to be in. Once it's molded, she added these little tape bits here that Velcro could strap onto, and then simply cut me some Velcro straps with a little release in this one for where the elbow is. So when it's on, you just have, and yeah, it does sit over the elbow. She's kind of cut that material there to relieve it a little bit, but sometimes I do kind of tend to move it around like that so that it's not sitting directly on that, most exposed part of the nerve. Yeah, so this is my zombie brace, as I like to call it, and I started sleeping with this on. It was very uncomfortable at first, but it unfortunately hasn't trained me to sleep with my arms straight, and so I'm still having to use them. It's not the most comfortable thing. It's quite hard, and actually what I sometimes find is that as a result of not necessarily sleeping on my back, sometimes sleeping on my side, this arm will kind of sit out at an awkward angle, and I kind of almost, you can't really hyperextend in this, but I sometimes wake up in the morning feeling like my arm's been like that the whole night. So yeah, I had the one done, and then a month later, I had the second one done. So this one, slightly different material. This one's glossy, this one's matte. I don't know if you can sort of see the difference there. And as you can see, I can put them on at the same time and be able to stretch it out. Once they're on though, I can't touch my face. Like if you're in the middle of the evening, it's like full zombie right now, it's ridiculous. But if you need to scratch your face in the middle of the night, you've got to go like, or pillow. you're fine to pee in them actually, because you can pretty easily just take your pants down and whatnot. But yeah, they're not very convenient, put it that way. And sleeping with both of them on at the same time is such a mission. But in all honesty, it's brought me such relief. So I'd rather have a slightly shitter sleep than wake up in the morning with a lot more pulling in my arms. And so sometimes I'll alternate, I'll wear one or the other, sometimes I'll wear both, sometimes I'll just flag it and I'll wear either of them. It really depends on how strained my nerve is feeling on a particular day. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty easy to take off. I don't ever feel like claustrophobic or weird in them. The biggest issue I have is that these were made for me, and that's awesome and wonderful and all, but they're slightly different lengths. This one is more comfortable, the second one that was made for me, and it's a better angle. And the problem I have with them is that I would almost like more flexibility. So if one night I want to like not have it, as tied up here, it's sort of, it comes undone very easily. It's not as nicely made as obviously one of these, but I'm not sure that you can get this in this. And I have looked online for places in New Zealand, and they are so expensive. And I'm studying a different degree now. I quit my job as a consultant, and I can't afford this kind of stuff. It's a bit ridiculous, really. But I mean, these are great for now. I don't know what the next step is. So those are the braces. I did also receive, just before I got the zombie braces, I got this teeny little, like this blue color, but I got a teeny little one that's supposed to prevent your elbow from, bending too much. Don't buy those. They're not worth it. You will end up scrunching your arm in them in the night. You cut off your circulation. They're so uncomfortable. Don't buy them. Not the little ones. You have to get one that really extends a decent amount away from your elbow on either side to really get that proper immobilized state where you just can't bend your elbow too much. So yeah, that was last year. And once again, I was like, okay, now I have the night braces, and let's see what happens. And so I waited. Some days I had better days than others. Some days I was just adamant that, because I did some research on the surgeries that you can have, I was like, I just need to have the surgery done, like right now, because I can't deal with this anymore. It's so frustrating. And, I lean on my elbows a lot, and I like the way that I used to sleep, and I just don't understand how all of this kind of flared up and hasn't gone away. It's a bit beyond me, but I've managed to deal with it until, and of course the other thing is that I was working full-time last year, and I didn't have time for doctor's appointments and ongoing, looking into things. So when I quit my job at the beginning of this year, I thought, okay, let's get back onto this. Let's see what we can do, because it's now coming up on, the second year that I'm having to deal with this. Am I going to deal with this for the rest of my life? Like, is this how it's always going to be? Am I ever going to have normal hands? Yeah, and I mean, it hasn't fully stopped me from doing anything I've ever wanted to do, but I really, really strain to do some types of exercises. Like, I can't do a handstand for very long anymore, because when you're doing a handstand, your hands are pressed down and your arms are all the way up there, and it pulls. And then, that thing that people used to do where you do this with your fingers and you put them on your eyes, that's as far as I can go now, because it just pulls and pulls and pulls. Those are stupid little things. It hasn't actually stopped me doing any university work, or, it didn't stop me doing my job last year, but it was a constant, I don't want to call it too much of a pain, but like this, like an ache, a pulling sensation. It was always there, and it never fully went away. And so, I mean, in a way, it's sort of almost like a form of, not chronic pain, but just a chronic thing, ongoing, and I just wanted to get rid of it and not have to deal with it anymore. So this year I went back to see my orthopaedic surgeon, who wanted me to see if I had a cervical rib in my neck, and apparently this can possibly cause some ulnar nerve issues. I don't even know how that works. I don't particularly like this guy that much anymore because I just don't feel like he's really doesn't care that much about my treatment and just doesn't seem to be engaged in helping me or helping me to figure this out. And I haven't really had that many discussions with him about the surgery. So yeah, I went back to see him. He got me to do this X-ray to see if I had the cervical rib. I didn't, so I've kind of given up on seeing him. He suggested I go back to see Adele to talk about my bracing, and I think that I've reached a point where I'm not sure that bracing can actually help me anymore. What I did do was I went to have another nerve conduction study, and that was in June this year, 2015, and once again, no nerve damage. So on one hand, I'm really happy that I have no nerve damage because that can be irreversible. On the other hand, is not having nerve damage something that will prevent me from having a surgery? Because I started to consider surgery as an option. And I've watched YouTube videos showing me the surgery. It's pretty gory. They do a cut from about here to here. They take the nerve and they move it either to the top or inside. Usually inside your elbow, because that's where you just get a little bit more kind of room, on the outside here. There is both. One's a subcutaneous something or other. There's two different ones. I'm not sure about that. Don't take my word for it. But yeah, so should I still have the surgery even if I don't have nerve damage is a question that I am now going to pose to a new orthopedic surgeon who I'm hoping to see in another couple of weeks' time. I'm getting a referral from my GP to go and see him because I'm just fed up with the attitude of this other guy who just seems to keep rubbing me off and sending me for tests and just being really disinterested overall in how I'm going to manage this. I'm only 26 years old, and I really don't want to have to deal with ulnar nerve issues for the rest of my life. I'm sorry, I keep saying like the lighting. This is my first YouTube video, so apologies for the quality or lighting issues. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I went and ordered some new finger buddies online. Well, they're actually called, it's a 3-point product. They're called Buddy Loops. I don't know if there's cheaper ones out there. These are kind of expensive. So I bought a 5-pack, and they just come in like a little plastic bag. And a 5-pack of, these ones are bigger. So these ones you can see are 1 inch wide. And a 5-pack of 1-inch Buddy Loops cost me 37 New Zealand dollars, including shipping and tax. I don't know, that seems kind of expensive to me for Velcro, right? Maybe I'll be able to find something somewhere else for cheaper, but oh my god, the 1-inch ones are amazing. Seriously. So these are the ones I've just started using. I got them yesterday. As you can see, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. Is that even? I don't know. These are so tatty, and they've kind of lost even some of their width. It's ridiculous, but and you can also see how it goes from being beautiful and white to being really disgusting. Yeah, so definitely invest in getting some nice ones eventually, once you kind of rotate through them. And the nice thing about getting a pack of expensive, ones of 5 is that you only need 2 at a time, and then you kind of, once those ones go through, you just use another 2 and so on. But the problem with these ones is sometimes they're so thin that you kind of need to actually strap 2 on at a time. So sometimes I would do, and I would do it down at the base of the finger because that's where I felt it provided the most support. But some days it actually just got to the point where I would even add a second one on just for extra support. And that is what my 1-inch one does without having to use 2 and make them ratty at the same time. So yeah, these big beautiful 1-inch ones can also be folded again over the middle finger or just the 2 ones that are affected, and bam, strapped on. And there's just so much more support in these. I cried a little the first time I put the 1-inch ones on because it was just so much more supportive. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I've been talking for a really long time. So if you've made it this far, congratulations. But yeah, so these are my finger buddies, and I wear them every day. I guess the biggest issue for me at the moment is that when I'm doing a lot of uni work and I'm typing a lot on the computer and writing a lot out, I start to feel that pulling really badly, to the point where I actually wear these night braces during the day while I'm on my computer, or I'll wear them for like 6 hours at a time just to try and relax the nerve and stop putting as much pressure on it, to bend and move around too much. That's my logic. And I'm not sure if that's great logic, but that's what I'm just doing at the moment. When it starts to pull really, really badly, it just hurts to do anything. Then it really does start to become a pain, and less of that just pulling, dull, constant, chronic aching to a real pain. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this ulnar nerve stuff. We're going on 2 years now. What was it? August 2012 is when 3 years. 2012, 13, 14, 3 years I've been dealing with this now. And no nerve damage, and big question mark around the surgery option. So I know with the surgery option, you take a little while to recover. There's a surgery where you can release it at the wrist, but apparently that's not as effective as the one at the elbow. And also, it sounds like the type of issues that I'm having at the moment would probably require me to have the surgery at the elbow. So we'll see. Surgery does carry some obvious risks with having a general anesthetic. And then there's also the fact that a lot of people I've seen online have sometimes not had all of their symptoms disappear after having surgery. So that makes me a little bit nervous, but I feel like maybe having the surgery would be better than not having the surgery. But I have to have it on both hands, obviously. And the question is, when? Because I need to work over the summer. I want to go on an exchange next year to a university in Vermont. And that means I need to work and save some money over the summer. And I need to be able to use my hands. And then next year, after the summer break is over, I start back up at university again. And then in the second semester of next year, that's when I would want to do the exchange. And of course, this type of surgery takes it only takes like 45 minutes or an hour or something in the surgical room, but then you have recovery time. And I don't know how long that takes. I haven't discussed all those options with my doctor yet. But I wouldn't have full mobility, and I would still be recuperating from a surgery. It's not some teeny little surgery you just recover from. Like you get your nerve moved, you've got to give it time to relax, you have to go for some physio to get it working again in its new position, and that's something that you need to have time for. Something I don't have. And then of course the question is, do I do it in my writing hand or do I do it in my mouse hand, which is less important for me to be able to use. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sort of at a loss for what to do next, but this is where I'm at so far. I can really recommend the buddy loops or whatever alternative you can find to do this kind of strapping, because it just means that you're not using strapping tape on a day-to-day basis, which is sticky and blah. And I suppose even though they are pretty pricey for a one-off, they bring me a world of relief just in terms of supporting my pinky. It just makes it feel less weak. And then I guess if you have any bracing options that'll help you, that would be the way to go about it. I would really appreciate it actually if anyone had some bracing suggestions. I have heard of something called it's like a boxer's splint, ulnar boxer's splint, and it's like this, but with a little thing that comes up and covers these two fingers. Ooh, very cool. Can't seem to find it in New Zealand though. So if anyone actually does know where to find some of that, please do let me know. I may try to edit this video down, but we'll see. Yeah. So that's my story. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Let me know if you have any thoughts or comments. I'll try to reply to them as best I can. And yeah, we'll keep you updated and see how this goes. Bye.